Hi, my name is Brenda McGee, and this is Paranormal Encounters. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Mary Machado, and she is a psychic medium and an author. Mary, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Mary, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here is because I like people to think you don't just have to be a paranormal investigator or anything like that, because we know that paranormal means anything that's not normal. So, spirit is, anything outside the boundaries, like we say. So, could you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'm a psychic medium. I'm also a registered nurse. I kind of wear a lot of different hats. My favorite is being a mom. I do Reiki, I do holistic counseling, and I'm also a medium. So paranormal is
your life.
Well, 2/3 of our society have belief in a higher power, and that higher power is beyond that limitations of science, what science can explain. So in a way, society is very open to paranormal.
Right, I love that.
It's true. I mean, on our dollar bill, it says, we believe in God. I mean, that's saying that they believe in something that science can't prove is there or not. I'm not getting into religion,
right.
Believe me.
No.
I'm just, that is a conversation like talking about one's weight. I do not want to get into. But I'm just saying, we do, our society, whether we want to admit it or not, is very open to what we cannot explain.
Right.
I think the problem is that many, from a scientific point of view, maybe this is the nurse part of me coming out, is that what they cannot explain, they have a hard time, what they can't put down on paper, what they can't say. Even though you have all our world leaders, coming out and going to church and things like that, but if there's it's almost like that's accepted,
right.
And we don't really want to think about it too much. But really, they can't prove, it goes back and forth. But anything about something like, with thinking outside of the box, with people having experiences, near-death experiences, seeing things, hearing things that they can't. Well, because we don't have the correct equipment to really,
right.
test this.
Right.
I mean, we have some things, those EFT machines and all those other,
yep.
but it's not enough for them. They don't feel it's enough, so we're not going to accept that.
Unless they either have an experience or they see it.
Exactly.
Like when we go into places to investigate, and especially residential homes, when they say they've had activity. When we set up our DVR system, which is cameras with night vision, and we turn the lights off, that's when the cameras can show you spirit. And until they see that, they're like they know something is there. But they always say, well, I've never experienced anything, so I don't know if that's true.
Well, I wonder about that, because a lot of times I feel that people may have experienced things,
yes.
but it doesn't resonate with them as an experience. Maybe someone might have thought of someone like, I really wish I could contact, or, so-and-so, I wish she would call me. And then within 5 minutes, that person calls. Right. Or you have this feeling. How many times we've heard people say, oh, I've had this feeling like something was going to happen bad. And then something does happen.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, well, they don't even let it register. Because I think that just like a room being filled with clutter, it's so hard to really let new stuff in.
Right.
So until that's cleared out, it's very hard. Now, children I love, because they're magical in the sense that if you tell a small child, do you believe in magical beings? It's very easy for them to let things go.
Right.
It's just easy. They're not held down with teachings that, someone saying, don't believe in that. Not yet, anyway.
Right. Not yet.
Once you start getting, well, did you rationalize this? Did you start thinking about this? That can't be true. Then suddenly, all that beautiful, magical thinking goes out, just goes out.
Right.
And I think for me, when I connect, when I'm near someone for a while, I just let go. You know, it's like being a child, just letting go.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, stuff starts to come in. And it's kind of like being a telephone operator in a sense. And I think that I would love to be part of a science experiment, seriously, honestly, because I feel like that's a good way to learn.
Right.
People shouldn't be afraid. And when, you know, and people on both sides, a holistic community, more psychics should want to sign up for something. And because what makes you more available to do things? There are days that, there are days when I can't pick up on things too well, like if I'm not feeling well or whatever. And there are other times that, wow, I'm amazing myself. And I can read for strangers better than I can read for my family.
Definitely.
I don't want to read from my family, right? Because the energy is different. And I've actually, because I was taught and raised by my family, my mother and father, who didn't really want, most of my father, who didn't want me to, this was not something that was, I had a bachelor's degree, I was a nurse, he didn't want me to have anything to do with this. But I really started my own kind of paranormal, like, okay, so what makes this way? What makes, in my own investigation. So, as I kind of went along, because I didn't have that master teacher over me.
Right.
But that's a good way to learn, about
really
energy.
is.
And I taught myself a lot about energy.
And how crazy is that? I mean, sometimes you're your best teacher.
Yeah.
Now, how do you see spirit? Do you see it in your mind's eye, which is the third eye? Or do you, see them in different ways?
I see them in different ways, and I'll tell you about my experimenting with it.
Awesome.
Okay, so sometimes when, if someone were to come to you, and I know that the person is coming like from you, either from your guides or your guides are sending them because the energy is near you, okay? Sorry, I'm like a little kid, I want to explain this. Or like Vanna White, I'm showing examples. If I'm getting, sometimes I'll see like a thought, I'll hear a thought or I'll see a thought. But it's coming in me, I know it's from my guides. Now, if someone is trying to connect, a spirit is trying to connect, and my guide is trying to help bring them in, through that way, it's still coming from me, but I know because I'm starting to hear, but it's like sometimes, so I'll know that my guide is helping me, assisting me, but it's almost like, and it comes across like sign language. Like I'll see, I have a deaf friend, so that's the only way I can compare it to.
Right.
I will see pictures, I will hear things, and that's how that comes across. Sometimes someone will want me very badly to connect with someone, and I don't, they'll show me like a picture, a visual picture. So I remember one time I was doing readings for someone, and there was like a line over here, and the girl had a man like a spirit wanted me to connect with this girl. And it was so hard for me to concentrate because he came right here, and it was like I started just to hear the whispering of this girl. And it was so intense that it was almost like, okay, I'm working on this person, but I knew that there was something different about this person, something. When she came and she sat in front of me, I started to see the picture of him in my mind, like not like you and me, but he was not allowed to look at me. And then I heard the story as he told me this, the story back and forth. She said, validated everything, that this is exactly who he is. Yeah. I appreciated that he did not look at me. I did not understand why. Right. And I understood. And then when the story got intense and I tried to pull away, I've never had anything bad happen, but it was intense. And I felt myself like, he was like, please, I want to, I felt that kind of like, I want to continue this story. It was nothing ever bad. Right. I mean, I've come across where I was at a place and I was doing, like we did a share, that kind of thing, and we would do, different stories and whatnot. And there was the first time this really ever happened to me, I felt like, maybe it's because I do a lot of cleaning too in my home, but like a vacuum cleaner, like a pull of energy. And it felt bad, like when you get sick, it felt so negative. Yeah. And it felt from this one person, I was like, oh, what is happening here? what is that, and it was like going by someone who, is just not right. And I was like, oh my, and I knew, like that's how it happened to me. And it's always out of my right ear too. I don't understand why. I don't get it. It's always out of here. And I started hearing this whispering, like I'm going to connect with this person. I ended up connecting with this person. And I ended up hearing the whole story. So I find like the other side, kind of like chess pieces. If I'm meant to be in someone's life for a reason, for whatever reason, they kind of do this.
That's amazing.
I don't know why they don't put me where I can be.
Because that would be
money,
too easy.
But hey,
that'd be too easy. You got to work for it, girl.
No, it's not about that.
Yeah,
it's just.
But
my
it's
life
funny
is
how
just
it all
totally...
comes around. So so you've never encountered anything negative or something that, you know what I mean?
Well, I have connected with things that don't feel right.
Yeah.
That feel dark. And that's how I started to learn about the energy of.
Yes.
There's. Just like there's good and bad, with people, like, I had this conversation with one person, and he was like, that's ridiculous. People don't, there's not energy. Yes. Yeah. Just like when somebody walks in a room, they're really bubbly, and you're feeling that happiness, or somebody's really sad, and you can feel that. There's darkness, too.
Yeah.
You can feel that energy.
Right.
And once you have felt true darkness, it imprints on you.
Yeah.
And so when it comes by again, you feel that energy. And so if you're very, very sensitive, some people say, empathic, whatever, it's just, I think, being more open. See, to me, I think everybody has the ability to be open. It's just too quickly our society closes children so that they forget.
Yes.
So as you get more awakened, what you're really learning how to do is how to remember.
Right.
How to remember, how to be open again.
Right.
So that's really,
I always know when there's something that is not of light because I get sick to my stomach. So I know when I go into a home, because a lot of people will say, they have activity. So I go and check it out first before we set up anything. And I'll know right when I walk in that door that if I get a sick feeling, then it's usually not a very good spirit. Or my guides will tell me, like when I go on an investigation or a blessing or anything like that, I will have dreams of what I'm going to come in contact with. So I get kind of a heads up to know what I'm doing, but I know when there's not good energy in something.
Sometimes, like, I went into one house where I just felt like a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And this particular woman who inherited the house, so to speak, I think she felt a lot of that pain.
Yeah.
I don't think that she even realized how sensitive she was.
Right.
And sometimes people who say, no, I don't believe in that stuff, but there's something weird in here, so just for the hell of it, I've already have my priest blessing. So I'm laughing, and I'm like, okay, well, since, like, I'll do it anyway, like, what the hell else, I don't,
Right.
What am I going to lose?
Yep.
They're actually sensitive, Yeah. And it's interesting. And I think sometimes that if there is a spirit in there who has been, had a lot of pain and whatever, and it's just maybe lost or just having problems crossing over, sometimes to do a blessing and just say, you're here and, you need to cross over and allow that pain to go with it. It's really just about that. And the person who's like that is just a person who, hey, you have abilities. Maybe you don't know that, but
exactly.
You do. And you're just picking up on it. And it's okay.
And I tell people that say, I've never experienced anything. I'm like, you sure? I'm sure you have. But unless you open yourself up to it, it's not going to happen. If you're going to close yourself off and the children nowadays are so gifted.
Oh, yeah.
And I really feel so upset that some of the parents just don't believe when their child tells them things. I've worked with a lot of children. And it's funny because I will be in a restaurant or whatever, and children will stop and they'll just look at me and just stare at me. And my friend will be like, what is going on? And I'm like, they see my inner light. They do. And the children nowadays, they do. They'll come up, like I used to do summer camp, and I do the YMCA too sometimes, and The kids will come right up to me, never meeting me, and say, Miss Brenda, I see ghosts. And I'll be like, I believe you. Or they'll tell me these crazy stories, like saying that they've come from another place. They'll tell me like they're these old souls and they're kindergartners. And they'll tell me, you know, that, oh, we're here and we're here to change things. And I just sit there like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how the
well,
children
they probably
are.
don't feel like it's crazy. And what's nice about that is they probably feel like they're telling it to someone who won't treat them like they're crazy, which is truly a gift.
But it's funny because I wouldn't even be their counselor. We'd be all sitting in the same area for lunch, and they would just come up.
You know,
it's crazy.
I've connected with more people and been connected with people in the strangest settings. And I think that's what happens. I think that as you open yourself up more, it's not about getting a certain certificate.
Right.
I went to one particular church which I dearly, dearly loved, and it was made very clear to us that it was not about titles. And so when you introduce yourself, it's like, hey, I'm Mary.
Yeah.
You know? Hey, you don't say so-and-so, I'm Dr. so-and-so, whatever. I mean, when I start talking to somebody and they start telling me like their whole resume and whatever, like, I'm very happy for you because that's very important to you. That's why you're putting that forward. Mm-hmm. But I'd love to connect with you as a person. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just like your thoughts and stuff like that. So, I mean, just because you don't have all those credentials, I mean, I could play this game too, but I would want to. What are you thinking right now in this moment?
Exactly.
What is your heart feeling right now in this moment? I mean, all those things don't. So I kind of loved that energy that's what they put forward here.
Right.
So that you treat each other as equals.
Yes.
And that's what I like about kids. That kids will kind of just be very open. And adults really need to get back to this place of just remembering. Because like I said, it's just my belief that I don't feel people have to awaken, they just have to remember, that kind of thing. That to me is really the path that we need to go back. And we get so distracted, don't we, in this world? We're so
really
busy,
do.
we get caught in routines, we get caught in bills. God, I'm going into my life now. But that is what we do. This is happening, that's happening, whatever. So when do we start to think about all these other things, that really make sense?
It's funny because, everybody always expects, well, me anyway, oh, she's always, upbeat and she's happy and, they call me an earth angel or whatever. But it's funny because it's like, you know what I mean? You need, and then some days you're posting, okay, I need a little help here. Send me some love or, whatever. And then you get all the messages. It's like, oh my gosh, are you all right? It's like, yeah, everybody has to, you can't be strong all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And
absolutely. And in fact, I understand what you're saying. I hear that all the time. Like, oh, I've been to meetings and like, oh, you're an incarnated angel, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, well, I must have been sent here to really learn because I've been through the ringer, let me tell you. Hence is my book.
Yes. Tell us about your book.
It's the spiritual paradox, the traumatic shift that saved me. I was just, it's my cathartic way of putting out everything that I went through. I have a lot of spiritual tools in the back, but it's really my journey kind of as a psychic. I mean, here I was, I'm a registered nurse trying not to really get into all of this kind of resisting my abilities in this world, but you can't resist who you are. You just can't.
Right.
And actually you shouldn't. And I also honored this 15-year-old girl who, she had cystic fibrosis, and she had this list of things that she wanted to do before she died, and she actually became my teacher. I don't know who taught each other more in the 3 years before she died. So it's a lot in this little book that I tried to put in that I really meant a lot to me. So I hope people enjoy it.
And how can they get that, Mary? How would
they can go on Amazon.
Okay.
And just look it up. Get this cool picture.
I love it. I love it.
But it really has been a journey. I think for anybody who's sensitive, who really wants to explore the paranormal, anything that's different, you check it out. You kind of say, oh, I don't know, I don't feel, something doesn't feel right. And I think for people who, especially for someone like myself, being in a world where the extraordinary wasn't acceptable, having a parent really saying, listen, all women are intuitive, that's normal, you're not feeling anything else. And I'm like, well, I don't know, because when I was young, my sister said, Mary, you used to talk to people all the time, and nobody was there. You were really little. I think I only freaked her out when I started to describe them. And I remember being in grade school when a little girl in our class passed away. And all the girls were crying. And they were mad at me. They were so mad at me because I wasn't crying. And I really didn't see a need to cry because I knew she was okay. I'm like, but I knew I couldn't say that. I'm like, what am I going to say?
Right.
I can see Shirley. And I'm like, but I'm like, I can see and I felt like this happiness there. Like I felt, just, but I was too little to make sense of it, too little to process it but I wasn't afraid. Right. See, that's the whole thing. I think my mother had such a strong connection with praying all the time and talking all the time. Yeah. So I just felt like that didn't scare me. Mm-hmm. I did have a lot of nightmares. Yeah. And that bothered me. Nightmares, things that I couldn't make sense of, things that I saw at nighttime. And even as an adult, I have a lot of, I'll see people or I'll see things. That really bothers me,
Yeah. And have you noticed that spirit is actually, it looks like you and I sometimes. It's like lately I see them as like full people, and then it's like, and then they're gone, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
To be honest with you, maybe I'm just not as gifted as like John Edwards or somebody else. But I'll tell you, the way for me that I see it, look, I probably just touched this and ruined this, so sorry.
It's okay. Just keep going.
I could do a puppet show. No, for me, it's like a digital kind of like when I do see it, I mostly see like images. I'll feel whether it's a female or a male. Yeah. I'll hear the thoughts, the whispering start, and then I'll get flashes, so I'll know. So I will see a flash, but more like a picture. Mm-hmm. But once in a while, I will see but it looks like a digital picture.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
But it doesn't, I've never seen someone as clear. And I know I've spoken to many mediums who say, oh, I see this person so clear. And I'm like, yeah, no, not me. I see and I can feel and I can hear them, but never crystal clear. So I don't know.
But you know what? You might have and just thought that it was just an ordinary, you know what I mean, person, and then they're gone like the next minute. So you could be and just not even realizing it.
I don't know. Usually when I connect, I know what it's coming.
Yeah.
I can smell things sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I also, for me, when someone says, can you tell the future? I've learned something about time too. Like when I get feelings and I write things down, time seems to be different. So if it hasn't happened, then I guess it's considered future. I do get a sense of like, okay, it's not going to happen immediately. I feel it closer or whatever. But it seems like the time is not the same that we look at time here.
Right.
Over there.
Yeah.
Over there meaning, when I'm getting the feelings or something. Right. So that I know. So sometimes I can get things before they happen in that way. And I know that. So when people say, can you tell me specifically, like, is it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday? No, I cannot tell you a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Right.
But I can tell you it feels warm when it's happening. It feels cold. It doesn't feel like you have long. I know someone is trying to connect with you or someone's going to call you and it's about this. I feel that. I can hear that. Those kind of things.
Right.
So.
That's amazing.
I think it's about... And then, it has to do with me. Like sometimes if I'm trying to read someone, because I've tried to understand myself, I can read some people easier than I can read other people.
Because they're more open.
If they're more open and they want it. Mm-hmm. Like if I came to see me or someone like me and I really wanted to find out information, I would know what I wanted, concentrate on it, and say, like, don't do the test the psychic business.
Right.
Because you're going to test the psychic when you ask them your question.
Exactly.
I mean, if you come in and you say, okay, listen, I want to really concentrate on connecting with, I don't know, say my mother.
Yeah.
I would not come in there and just say, okay, just see what comes up. I mean, you can do that.
Right.
But then you get a smorgasbord of
course,
everything.
because you never know. Yeah.
And then everybody pops in. And I've done that where, someone's, son came in or someone's ex-husband came in. It's like, listen, I don't want to talk to that person. Oh, yeah, that's true. That is how they died. That is what happened. But I'm really looking for someone else. I'm like, what do you think this is?
Yeah, it's tough.
I think I could, it's just so amazing to me of like, dial whatever, Yeah. I'm like, don't you see? You're validating everything of how this person just came through.
Right.
I'm so excited that this person took this energy, stepped through. It must be important.
Right.
But that's not who you wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, there must be a reason for this person trying to connect,
Right.
But I would use the time and say, listen, I want to connect with this person. This person, the medium you go to should just zone in on this.
Right. And that's perfect information. So unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much.
And if you want to reach Mary or have any questions, you can email me at paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com. And Mary, thanks again for being here.
Oh, thank you.